Good texture. Excuse me. No, cookie.
Hello, friends and fellow YouTubers. I want to welcome you to Spooky Peace Theater. Enjoy the show.
I used to work at Pizza Hut when I was in high school. I have a lot of bizarre stories from working there, but this is the one that scared me the most. My Pizza Hut was the kind where you could only pick up the food, and there was also a wall between the store front and the kitchen. So, if you were in the front of the store, you were pretty much on your own. The store itself was located in a kind of out-of-the-way, dead shopping center. Oh, and it was in Las Vegas. That should tell you a lot about the level of our clientele. For some reason, I always got stuck on the late night shift despite being in high school. So, on most weekends by 10 at night, it would just be me and one other cook in the store twiddling our thumbs. I would hang out at the front, and the cook usually was way at the back of the store, out of earshot. One night, I was hanging out behind the counter, and I saw this guy walk past. I didn't think much of it and went back to doing nothing while waiting for my shift to end. Then the door to the store opened. I looked up and realized that it was the same guy who just went by. He was tall but also skeletally thin, and there was also something not right about his eyes. But despite him putting me on edge, I got up, greeted him, and asked him what he'd like to order. Nothing. He just stands there in the front, staring up at the ceiling, muttering to himself. I was only 17, and for the most part, a good kid despite living in Sin City, so I didn't really know what to make of it. Now, I would probably just chalk it up to drugs. Anyway, he was still standing there, vacant expression and muttering in what sounded like tongues. Then he abruptly spinned around and just walked back out of the store without even acknowledging that I existed. I was unnerved, but shook it off and sat back down. It's getting towards the end of my shift, and I'm counting down the minutes, when I realized somebody had walked back into the store. I looked up, and it was the same guy, same creepy eyes, only this time, he was holding a phone up to his ear, muttering unintelligibly. So, I realized he wasn't talking to anyone, and worse, staring right at me super intense and unblinking. At this point, I was starting to get frightened. He keeps looking right at me, and so I try to be polite and ask if I can help him. He starts walking towards the counter, still staring at me. Then suddenly he asked in a perfectly normal voice if his order was ready. And not sure how to answer. So, I just went with the truth and tentatively pointed out to him that he didn't order anything when he was first in the store. He gets this bug-eyed look on his face and lunges towards the counter. I jump back at this point, and my heart is pounding because this guy is obviously not sane. I was also afraid that he was gonna pull out a knife or something and stab me. Then, just as abruptly as he lunged, he yells, looks super confused, upset, like he was about to cry, and puts his head in his hand and starts pulling at his hair. I start to feel slightly bad at this point, and I ask as nicely and calmly as I can if he maybe wants to order something now. His head snaps back up, his expression is now completely blank, and he looks totally deranged. I'm holding totally still because I'm afraid moving will set him off. Then thankfully the door to the store opens and a huge man walks in. He looks at this guy kinda confused, realizing that something's not right with him. The crazy guy then looks at him, and then at me, then started backing up until he was out of the door. He starts walking towards the edge of the store, never taking his eyes off me the whole time, and then goes past the edge of the store and was gone. The guy who walked in looked at me and asked, "What the hell was that?" I look at him, and I go, "I have no idea. I think he was crazy." I try to shake it off, but I'm totally on edge for the rest of my shift. When I clocked out that night, I made one of the drivers walk out with me. Then, I jumped in my car and got out of there. I never saw that dude again, but it was a weird experience and it was pretty unnerving.
So I'm a pizza delivery girl. Easy enough. I was working around 9:30 p.m. when this guy called with a very whispery, breathy voice. I do my usual greeting. "Thank you for calling Pizza Hut. How are you doing tonight?" After the usual exchange, I found out that he was ordering a pizza for delivery. He was a new customer, so I had to put in all his information. It was nothing weird. He told me that he had a coupon for the pizza and asked if I can give him a discount. So I told him, "Let me just grab my manager and we'll take care of that for you." He asked me specifically to take care of him. After I came back from dealing with my boss, I told him that we discounted him for his coupon. He thanked me. Here's where it got weird. He stopped me mid-sentence and told me that I have a very nice-sounding tone of voice, and that he loved hearing me talk. "You should be a disc jockey." I was a little weirded out, but I tried to stay professional. I told him that it was really sweet that he told me that, and I would consider it. And then he said, "I listened to your radio station. Thank you for taking my order tonight. I'll drop by your store and see you sometime soon." I wish I could say it was over after that, but that just isn't true. This man lived in an apartment complex. What I didn't realize is that I had taken the complex's address, but not his apartment number. Not 5 minutes later, the man calls back and my coworker answers the phone. I learned after the fact that he had asked for me by name. I picked up the phone and did my usual greeting, and he reminded me I forgot to ask for his apartment number. Nothing weird, yet. Again, I thanked him and changed the information. Before I could hang up, this was our conversation. Him. "Wait, hold on." Me. "Yes, sir, how can I help you?" And then he said, "Are you doing alright?" And then I said, "Yes, sir, I'm great." And then he said, "Good, I'm gonna hang up now. I'll see you soon." My coworker heard the whole story and told my boss to have a male coworker take care of it. And when the male coworker came back, this is what he had to say. So he said, "Okay, so I got there, right? I knocked on the door. He said in this weird seductive voice, 'Come in.' But I was not about to go in this guy's house. So I knocked again. He opened the door with a big smile on his face, but saw it wasn't me, and it just dropped. I greeted him and he said, 'Oh, where is the girl?' I told him that you were at the store and he just looked upset. After I took his money and gave him his food, he asked how you were, and I told him that you were doing alright, and he just said, 'Good. She's a sweet girl. Tell her I'll see her soon.'" Okay, the fact that he asked the driver to come in, and that he was expecting me, creeps me out. Maybe he's just lonely and wanted someone to talk to, but still, add that one creep to my list.
I'll never forget this night. The pizza place I worked at was about to close, and I was getting ready to go home when the phone rang. I was working the counter alone that night, so I was taking calls. I picked up the phone. There was complete silence, so I hung up. About a minute later, the phone rings again, so I pick up again. Still silence. I was about to hang up again when I heard the very weak and cold voice of an old woman on the other end. She said she wanted a regular pie delivered. I remained polite on the phone, but on the inside I was screaming. I just wanted to get home and end my shift. I called out to my boss that somebody is requesting a delivery. He told me I had to go. I was upset at first, but I realized it's another tip, and the old ones usually tip the most, so I decided it was okay. I took down the address and told her I would be there soon, but she had already hung up. I thought that was rude, but I ignored it and yelled to the chef that I needed one regular. My boss told me to just go home after the delivery as the place would be closed. So a little before 10 o'clock, I got in my car and put the address into my GPS. The house was 7 miles away. The GPS took me to the quiet side of town. I arrived to the house. It was a small, one-floor house on a very quiet and empty block. I took the pizza and walked up to the door and rang the doorbell. There were no lights on in the house. I hoped that she hadn't given me the wrong address. I rang the doorbell again. There was still no answer. I was about to give up when I turned my head and saw somebody standing at the window. I got a little freaked out and backed up at first, but I eventually got closer to the window to see the person. It was an old woman, probably in her late 70s. She was just staring at me with a blank expression. I yelled to her through the glass that I had her pizza. She didn't react to what I said, so I screamed it louder. A big smile ran across her face. Not a pleasant, genuine smile. It was a smile that sent chills down my spine. I still remember that exact face she made through the window. I decided that I was freaked out enough and got back to my car and set the pizza in the passenger seat. I had to text my boss about this. I shot him a quick text and started my car, ready to get the hell away. I looked to my right to get one more look, to see the woman standing right outside my passenger side window, giving me the same stare she had given me before. I put my car in drive and floored it down the street, not looking back. My boss never made me do a late night delivery again.